Right now, you're watching MyTV 20 News at 10.
Employers continued to hire in December, but not enough to bring down the nation's unemployment rate. Alex Christoforous reports on which industries are adding jobs as millions of Americans struggle to find work.
Employers continued hiring even during the tense budget negotiations in Washington. The economy added 155,000 jobs in December, holding the unemployment rate at 7.8%. There were gains in healthcare, food services, and manufacturing, also in construction, which added 30,000 jobs. That was the biggest jump in over a year, partly from rebuilding after Superstorm Sandy.
The positions that we offer.
But those increases have not helped Teresa Bonet. She had been working at the same bank for 10 years when she was laid off.
It's disappointing because I've been with a company for so long, and then with the recession, it just affects everything.
Wall Street would also like some better news. The unemployment numbers were in line with expectations, but nothing to celebrate.
We had a lot of temporary hiring at the end of the year, and I think it's nothing beyond that. I think a real true test of the numbers to see where we are the next reporting period.
Bonet has been job hunting for a year and a half and took an overnight shift at a retail store to make ends meet.
You never expect it to be you, and then next thing you know, it is.
All told, the economy added an average of 153,000 jobs a month last year. That's roughly the same as the year before. Over 12 million Americans are still looking for work.
Hostess is not the only bakery going out of business. The ovens will soon be turned off at a local plant. Aubrey Bakeries is 102 years old, but the Livonia-based company is selling off all of its assets next month. Aubrey gave its state-required 60-day notice November 28th. The closing means 157 employees will lose their jobs. Each will get 200 hours of severance pay. Aubrey had been family-owned for 95 years before it sold as part of a 2005 bankruptcy. Raven.com will host an online auction February 20th. It will end the next day. Now to update a story that we first told you about last month about a new homeless warming center that's keeping homeless people from freezing during the cold winter months. MyTV 20's Jorge Aviad tells us how the new center is already making a big difference in hundreds of people's lives.
Oh, it's cold and there's not many places you can go.
But thanks to the new warming center at the Star Presbyterian Church in Royal Oak, James Respecki does have somewhere to go. James is among the hundreds of homeless people using the new shelter operated by the Welcome In Center.
Volunteers that bake casseroles for us and they bring them in. We heat them up for everybody. So,
would you go hungry without that food?
Probably, yes.
We first met James last year when the Welcome In Center was looking for a new location to open a warming center after their St. Denis shelter closed due to church closures. He tells MyTV 20 since then, the Welcome In Center is now offering more services to its clients.
We got nurses that come in a couple times a week. We have social workers. We have use of computers and the internet for job searching.
The center is also helping get the homeless back on track by providing them with government housing assistance information. 59-year-old Samuel Prince hopes that will be the help he needs to once again regain control of his life.
I put my hands in the faith in the Lord, and maybe this time next year I won't have to be in this situation. But if I have to, I mean, it's always here, so things will get better.
And to help out the homeless even more, next month, the Welcome In Center here at the Star Presbyterian Church in Royal Oak will open an overnight shelter for 3 weeks. For MyTV 20 News at 10, Jorge Aviad.
Efforts continue tonight to make it easier for thousands of food stamp recipients to eat. Meijer is one of the places that accepts state-issued bridge cards. About 85,000 clients found their cards didn't work after funds were not loaded to them. Operators blame the mistake on human error. That's little comfort to those who rely on those cards. And with nearly 20,000 homeless people in Metro Detroit, all shelters across our area are starting to see large crowds because of the cold weather. Among them is the Neighborhood Service Organization shelter on 3rd Street in Detroit. This morning, dozens of homeless people packed the center that for many people remains the only location they can stay during the winter.
Would you be out in the streets if you didn't have a place like this?
Yeah, I would.
Freezing?
Freezing. Cold, probably in some squatter's house or something.
Shelters are looking for your help for everything from food to clothing or monetary donations. A naval officer is dead after being gunned down on Detroit's west side this morning. Officer Terrence Hill Jr. was in his car this morning when a gunman walked up to the car, shot Hill in the chest, and took off. Crime Stoppers is looking for your help in finding the suspect, described as a small-built, dark-complected male in his 20s wearing a black skull cap. The search continues tonight for a man who sexually assaulted a 55-year-old woman. The suspect approached a couple at the intersection of Findlay and Dresden on Tuesday. He pulled a gun, demanded money, and then sexually assaulted the woman. She's been released from the hospital, but the suspect, depicted in this sketch, is still on the loose. They help protect our country, and they will soon have a new place to work. Border Patrol agents currently work out of their Atwater Street office. They're responsible for 70 miles of border with Canada, but the office is outdated and too small. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers received a $14 million contract to build a new station. Roughly 100 agents will work in the 45,000 square foot facility. It will also include a helipad, a fitness area, communications tower, and security fencing. The new building is expected to open in 2015. Selfridge Air National Guard Base does not have to worry about losing some of its jets tonight. The base is home to the 107th Squadron Red Devils. You might recall the Air Force wanted to deactivate the unit, but a congressional conference committee approved plans to keep the 107th flying at Selfridge last month as part of a new Defense Department budget. President Obama approved that Thursday night. The budget also creates an independent panel that will recommend future cuts. That report is expected in February of 2014. A bill delivering some much-needed aid to victims of Superstorm Sandy is ready for the president's signature. It's just a fraction of the money lawmakers from the devastated region have requested, but congressional leaders are promising votes on more aid later this month. Daniel Nottingham reports from Capitol Hill.
On this vote, the yeas are 3. Congress is sending nearly $10 billion to the victims of Superstorm Sandy. The money will help Northeast residents who filed flood insurance claims.
It's up to us.
Congressman Michael Grimm, a former Marine, did not want to return to his devastated district empty-handed.
I would rather have been back in the Gulf, you know, whether it's Afghanistan, Iraq, Kuwait like I was, and deal with bullets flying than to deal with going back to Staten Island and telling these people I can't help them.
Earlier this week, the House was supposed to vote on a $60 billion Senate-passed aid package, but House Speaker John Boehner pulled the bill, setting off a political firestorm. Now, Republican Congressman Peter King says there are no hard feelings.
I think he made the wrong decision, I believe, but there was no malice on Speaker Boehner's part.
Democrats are not letting him off the hook so easily.
We are pompously saying today and pontificating about we're helping them. Isn't that wonderful? What's our jobs?
And New York Senator Charles Schumer says Congress must get more aid to Sandy victims fast.
We must make sure that passing this bill is not the end or even the middle, but only a start.
Speaker Boehner has promised to take up 2 more Sandy relief bills later this month, totaling more than $50 billion. Money that would help rebuild homes, beaches, bridges, and roads.
Well, he is an avid outdoorsman and a former board member of the National Rifle Association, yet Michigan Congressman John Dingell is part of a group that's taking aim tonight at gun violence. The Dearborn native is one of 12 vice chairmen on a Democratic gun violence prevention task force. It came about last month after that Connecticut school massacre. California Congressman Mike Thompson chairs the group. He chose Dingell since he has served as one of the primary authors of changes to the instant criminal background check system in 2007. The task force is expected to release its recommendations next month. Time is running out tonight to save the pro hockey season. Reports claim NHL Commissioner Gary will cancel the season next Thursday if the lockout isn't settled. That means we may not get to see the Detroit Red Wings in action. But MyTV 20's Dave Lavelle tells us the Wings are still taking care of business off the ice.
It's not the name we're used to seeing playing goalie for the Detroit Red Wings. However, there are some familiar names in action. But it becomes clear these are not the players we're used to seeing on the ice at Joe Louis Arena. Fans of the Red Wings and Toronto Maple Leafs take to Riverside Drive for the first Windsor Classic street hockey tournament. They're raising money for the Windsor Mission. It provides shelter and food for the homeless.
In the last couple of years, our daily average went from 150 to 200, 230, 40 people every day, 7 days a week for lunch.
Which is why organizers host the event. But they cannot do it alone. That's when a neighbor steps in to help, courtesy of the Detroit Red Wings Foundation.
And our goal is to invest in the future of the community by providing funds and resources to worthy organizations that contribute to the growth of the sport of hockey.
The foundation helps adults with the Windsor Classic, yet it focuses most of its efforts on a younger crowd. Current and former players often gather at local schools, helping young children understand and appreciate hockey. That includes donating equipment.
We realize that kids have a lot of options these days, and really we just want them to stay active, eat healthy, exercise. And
these hockey players get plenty of exercise during their tournament, while helping those less fortunate. It's thanks in part to an organization known for providing a foundation for future fans of the game. In Windsor, Dave Laval, MyTV 20 News at 10.
The Red Wings Foundation is part of Illich Charities. It holds various fundraisers throughout the year to donate to the community. Well, as most of you may know, the Winter Classic was canceled in Michigan as a result of the National Hockey League lockout. So to fill the void of the Winter Classic, the Harlem Globetrotters will play an outdoor game of basketball on ice wearing ice cleats. The game will take place this Monday at noon on the ice rink at Millennium Park in Portage, Michigan. This will be only the second time ever that the team has played on ice. The first one was back in 2010 at a rink in Central Park in New York City. And a local tourist attraction continues growing tonight. We got our first look at baby North American river otters at the Detroit Zoo last June. They're credited with drawing nearly 1.3 million visitors last year. That's a slight increase from 2011. Administrators credit the birth of the otters and other animals for the rise in attendance, plus the mild spring weather helped attract more people. 2012 also marks the 7th straight year the zoo had at least 1 million visitors.
Next on MyTV 20 News at 10.
1,000 crosses are making a bold statement about a long-running debate. We'll tell you what it is when we come back.